knows what that means? Giridhara Dhari, the lifter of Govardhan. You know about Govardhan? Anybody? Govardhan is a mountain Krishna lifted. Jashoda Nandana. Jashoda Nandana means Krishna gives pleasure to his mother Jashoda. Braja Jana Ranjana means he gives pleasure to the residents of Vrindavan. Why don't I just wear it?
Prabhu the road, you could put it on his
Krishna Govind. Jamuna Tira Bana Chari. Along the banks of the Jamuna, Krishna has many pastimes. So we're going to sing this song. It's a song which describes Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. How many of you have been to Vrindavan? Raise your hand. Okay. Take your hand down. How many of you have heard of Vrindavan? About the same amount that has been there. Okay, well, you're going to Vrindavan now. This song takes you to Vrindavan. Vrindavan is where Krishna appeared, and so we're going to go there now. And if you don't understand it, you can feel it. Just listen and feel it. Shri Radha Madhava Rangaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Jai Gauramanand. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paschatya Satarine Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Mukam karoti vachalam pangulangayate girim yakripa tamaham vande Siguru dinatarinam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivashri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Yesterday and today we had a focused course, workshop, exploration into the chanting of Hare Krishna with a purpose of coming closer to Krishna, to coming closer to His name. And so I was requested to speak a little bit about that. Most of you who are here are familiar with the principle of the deity. And the deity is worshipped. Krishna is present in this deity. It's not a statue. And the deity is made of marble, but Krishna agrees to enter the deity because in Krishna's spiritual form, if Krishna were in his full spiritual form, we wouldn't be able to see it. So Krishna has to come in a form we can see. So he agrees to come in marble or stone or wood or in some cases resin or sometimes mud. Temporary deities are made of mud. But there's another deity Krishna comes in, another kind of deity, and that is sound. So sound is a material element, correct? Just as is wood, stone, and so forth. So how can Krishna be in this deity as marble? Because he agrees to enter this on the request of his pure devotee. He agrees to enter this form, to accept worship. So we worship this deity as Krishna. It's not a symbol. We worship it as Krishna, as the person Krishna, just appearing as marble. And for those of you who don't know, the deities here are woken up every morning at 4 o'clock, and they're given certain things to eat when they wake up, and they're treated like God. Well, you could say they're treated like kings and queens of this world. And then their clothes are changed every morning. They are bathed. Mantras are chanted to them. Their teeth are brushed. Their hands, feet are cleaned, and all kinds of things. Did you know that? Every day. And then they're offered meals 6 times a day. Do you dress the deities in the afternoon also? And then in the evening, they put their pajamas on, beds are laid out. So, and those who worship the deities, they don't think that they're worshiping a statue. They know that they're worshiping Krishna personally. And they have experiences with the deity. Sometimes the deity will appear in dreams. Sometimes the deities will speak to them. We have stories in our temples of sometimes there's a problem, and the deity will come in a dream to the devotee, the pujari, who's worshiping the deity, and tell them, I don't like this food you're offering, or there's a hole in the wall here and cold air is coming in, patch it. And you'll go and see there's a hole there. These are not some stories from 500 years ago. This is within our movement. We have stories like this, where the deities would come to devotees and talk to them. In Mayapur, we have Jagannath deity, some of you know. And the deities are being worshipped a few miles from the Mayapur temple. And the deities came in a dream and said, the food you're offering to the deities in Mayapur is much better than what you're offering to me. We want that food. So things like this. So it's not a statue. It's actually Krishna in that form. And so the reason I'm talking about this is because Krishna also has another form in sound, and that's his name. The name Krishna is another form. It's a murti, it's a deity, but it just comes in the form of sound. And just as the deity, as we worship the deity, one time Prabhupada said, when the name appears, just like you bow down to the deity, right? When the curtain opens, we bow down. When you come in the temple, we bow down. Because this is Krishna, we're bowing down. Prabhupada said, when you say Hare Krishna, it's like coming in front of a deity, and you should bow down to the holy name. So, if you want to worship a deity like this, you have to qualify for it in terms of not just how to do it, but in terms of levels of purity. You can't just do it. You have to become qualified. You have to be initiated. You have to have been chanting Hare Krishna for many years, and then you get another initiation, and you get mantras, and then you get training, and you have to be clean, and your life has to be pure. So many things. And then you can go on the altar and worship. But to worship the name Krishna, which is non-different from Krishna, and is, as I said, is a form of Krishna, to worship that name, you don't require anything other than a desire to chant. And Krishna will come to you, not will come to you. Krishna is in his name, and he comes to you when you chant. He's there, you're with him personally. And you don't have to do anything other than say his name. What do you think? Good? Is that good?
Great.
Is it good or great?
Great.
So, sometimes we refer to the name of Krishna as holy. Why is it holy? Because it's him. That's why it's holy. It's not a representation of him. Like you can call me by my name. I'm not present when you call me. It's a representation of me. Krishna's name is not a representation. He's present. So whenever you call him by his name, he's there with you. Any time of the day or night, wherever you are. If you want, for example, if you want to worship the deity, you have to be initiated with Gayatri mantra, Upanayanam, and Pancharatriki mantras. We get various mantras. And these mantras, you have to chant them every morning at sunrise, at noon, when the sun's overhead, and sunset. That's when they have to be chanted. And you have to strictly be vegetarian, no drugs, no illicit sex, no gambling. The mantra won't work if you don't have that lifestyle. And you have to have sattvic qualities, high qualities, kindness, compassion, integrity, cleanliness, sense control. You need all these things for the mantra to work. Otherwise you chant it and it's like, doesn't do anything because you're not qualified to chant it. With the Hare Krishna mantra, you don't need any of that. Anybody can chant it anytime without any qualification, and it will purify us. Is that good or great? Yeah. So, Lord Chaitanya said, Nam namakari bahuda nija sarva shakti statarpita niyamita smarane nakala. Lord Chaitanya said, you have put all your shaktis, all your energies in your name. That means you are, there's no difference. There's no difference between me sitting with Krishna personally and me, you and me, sitting with his name. It's the same thing. Wow, is that amazing? Someone says, show me God. It's like right here, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He's there. We may not realize it, but we're discussing the philosophy. He's actually there. Nam namakari bahudani sarva shaktis. All your personal energies, all your shaktis, you've invested in your name. That means he's personally present. God himself, you say Krishna, he's there. You may not realize it, but at least we're trying to understand the philosophy. He's there. Tatarpita niyamita smaranena kala. And there's no time, place, circumstance. I can chant it anywhere, qualified, unqualified. So Lord Chaitanya is saying, how much mercy is there in Krishna's name that we can chant it without qualification and anytime, any place. And what happens when you chant his name? Amazing things. Do you know what happens when you chant his name? What this name can do to you, to your life? Well, if you know the history of ISKCON, Prabhupada was here in 1965, and his audience were hippies. That's all. That's all that came. You know the temple, 26 2nd Avenue, where Prabhupada started, right? Who was coming? Hippies. And hippies on the Lower East Side in 1966, they were not like fake hippies. It was like the real thing. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, like to the core. That's their life, right? Now, some of those hippies you may know or not know are now leaders of the Hare Krishna movement. Like, how did that happen? Like, how do you go from hippie to this amazingly exalted devotee with hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of disciples? How does that happen? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. How it happens is, could you imagine that every day for 2 hours, or for whatever time you want to chant, Krishna would sit with you. And every day you got to be in his presence. Do you think that would change you? Do you think that would purify you? Of course. Because he's the supreme pure. And you go in his presence, you become purified. So, Prabhupada came to New York with the hope that he would meet the movers and shakers of New York City, the wealthiest people, the intelligentsia, and convince them of Krishna consciousness. That was his plan. Like from the beginning, he was like, I need to meet Rockefeller, Carnegie, I need to meet everybody. It didn't happen. He was just one sadhu, nobody knew him, he didn't have any backing, he didn't have any connections. How could he meet them? He didn't have any movement, he couldn't show anything off. So all he had were hippies. And Prabhupada thought, the holy name of Krishna is so powerful that even if I have to feed them meat, to get them to come, I would do it. Even if I have to give them drugs to get them to come, I will do it, because I know if they chant Hare Krishna, they'll give it all up. Did you know that? Prabhupada, when Prabhupada took sannyas, before he came to America, what year was that? 1959? Is that correct? Or 59? Yes? He mentioned at that time, when I go to America, if I have to give them meat and drugs or cigarette, whatever I have to give them, I will give it to them. Because they will chant, and he said, in a few days they'll give it all up. That is the power. And so that's why when Prabhupada saw all those people, he didn't think, these are the wrong people, they're not qualified, they're not clean, they're not vegetarian, they're taking drugs, they have no moral principles. He didn't think, well, let's forget them and just go back to India. Because there was hardly any Indians in America at that time. It's just the immigration laws had just changed in 1965. Before that, Indians couldn't come here. So he didn't think, let's go back to America, back to Vrindavan. He thought the holy name will purify them. So Prabhupada had faith in the holy name, and we see this is the history. It worked, right? It changed people because the name is Krishna personally. That's how it works, right? So now, if you chant 1 minute a day, you're sitting 1 minute with Krishna, 10 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 24 hours. You're sitting personally with Krishna. That's amazing, isn't it? When you think about it, it's amazing. So, we were speaking this weekend that one of the important things that we need to do is to appreciate, to thank Krishna, to be in gratitude for what he has done by coming as his name. But not only that, what does the name do? The name, we all have a relationship with Krishna, an eternal relationship that we forgot about. And by chanting his name, that relationship will awaken. You have actually, all of us, have an eternal relationship with Krishna in some particular way. And we don't know what it is right now. It's covered. Chant, 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 keep chanting, that relationship will awaken. We all have love of Krishna inherent within us. Chant, 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 that love will come out. So chanting Hare Krishna awakens our relationship with Krishna. It gives us love of Krishna. It ends the cycle of birth and death. It makes us happy. Solves, it's a problem. Don't you think it's a problem to be happy? Have you noticed? I mean, you're in the Big Apple, If you can't be happy here, then forget it, right? You've got all opportunity to be happy. How hard is it to be happy? It's a real job, isn't it? It takes a lot of work. And the holy name is said to be an ocean of happiness without end. Wow. Pretty good. If there was a store selling something that gave you happiness without ending, would you buy it? Even if it was $10,000, you'd buy it, wouldn't you? The holy name gives you happiness without ending. Wow. And then the holy name satisfies our deepest hankering, our deepest need. So this is why we appreciate it. And so the idea is that this is the gift that Lord Chaitanya gave in this age. This is his special gift. And so Lord Chaitanya in this verse, second half of this verse I was quoting, he said, "You're so merciful, you're so kind, you're so magnanimous that you come personally in your holy name. So if we chant your name, we're associating with you. But I don't like chanting. I like Instagram better than chanting Hare Krishna." So he said, I'm so unfortunate that in spite of all this, I have no attraction for chanting. And so he was playing the part of ordinary conditioned soul, saying, I'm attracted to so many things. One time Prabhupada said, you're loving so many things in this world. You're loving everything. This, that, the next thing. Everything but Krishna. Isn't it? Isn't it? We're loving so many things. So, the purpose of speaking about this today is to try to encourage you, inspire you, to understand that you have something extremely rare and valuable. And we should all be grateful for it, and we should all take advantage of it. There's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chiradadattam Nijagupta Vitam, and it says that Lord Chaitanya, He comes once in a day of Brahma. That's 8,640,000,000 years. So once every 8,640,000,000 years, Lord Chaitanya comes, and Lord Chaitanya is the one who's given us the holy name. And so you only have one chance in 8,640,000,000 to be in the right place at the right time, to be in the Kali Yuga that he comes in. And Prabhupada said in a purport, and if you miss it, then you'll have to wait another 8,640,000,000 years. So I just want to express to all of you that you're all very fortunate because you're existing at a time in the world when Lord Chaitanya decided that he's going to make it really easy. And he's going to give you, through his chanting of his holy name, he's going to give you a level and a depth of love of Krishna you could never, ever get any other way at any other time in the last 8,640,000,000 years. That by chanting Hare Krishna, most of you know about Krishna's lovers, the gopis, and how much love they have for him. You can have love like that by chanting Hare Krishna, even though we feel like we're just ordinary people. That love is contained within the Maha Mantra. And what's interesting is that Maha Mantra, it exists in every age, but in this age, the Maha Mantra has the power to awaken this very intense love of Krishna, just in the same way that the residents of Vrindavan, who are Krishna's most intimate friends and lovers, have. That's special, and it only happens once in 8,640,000,000 years in a specific Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya comes. And we are in that Kali Yuga this time. You are so fortunate. Some of us don't realize how fortunate we are. They think, whatever, chant Hare Krishna, don't chant Hare Krishna. Come back in my next life, take up where I left off. No, we shouldn't think that way. We should think, I'm very fortunate. I should take advantage of it. Yes?
I have a question. You said that Ragatam, that's the name of the devotee that comes every 8,600,000,000.
Lord Chaitanya.
Rajatana, 648 million years. But assuming humanity is going to continue evolving in thousands of years from now, and people, because thanks of the existence of Krishna, are going to continue chanting, and some
Yeah.
people will chant, like you said, other people will become devotees. Let's say in the 1,000 years, this temple in Brooklyn continues existing, and
Yes.
people, humanity, the way we are right now, will come generations to come to continue this legacy. Are they still going to be as fortunate as us?
Well,
or not, because
yeah.
it only happens once every 8.
Yeah, the prediction is 10,000 years, and then things will change in a way where most people will not have the capacity to take spiritual life, and then you'll have to wait another 8 billion. So you have 10,000 years, but I heard Prabhupada. I personally attended around 130 lectures of Srila Prabhupada. That's my calculation. And, if you go to university, how many lectures do you hear of a professor? Like 20? Or maybe 40 if it's, in 10 weeks you go 2 or 3 times a week. So you hear 20, 30 times, or if your semester's 20 weeks, you hear 60 times. So you really get to understand the person when you hear that many lectures, right? And one thing that I heard Prabhupada emphasize over and over again is that you are so fortunate that in one life you can, by properly taking to Krishna consciousness and chanting the holy name, in one life you can perfect your life, and you can go back to Krishna at the end of this life. And basically he was saying that we have the opportunity now, and we don't know if we'll have it in the future. Even though the opportunity will be there in the future, we don't know if we'll be in the right place, and we don't know if we'll take it. So Prabhupada was saying, but you have the opportunity now, so take it now. So there was the sense of trust no future, however pleasant, just take it now. So what you say is true, but it'll only go on for 10,000 years. But whether we'll take it up in the future, that's another thing. So he was always asking, and I would say begging us, take advantage of this, because this is not something you take advantage that is offered at any other time in history. And Prabhupada used to tell us that there are different processes for liberating yourself and going back to Godhead. Nothing as easy as this, nothing as fast as this, nothing as quick as this. So if we appreciate it, it becomes an impetus to do it. It's not easy to sit and chant and meditate, especially today, because we're very distracted by so many things. But if we can discipline ourselves, it's so beneficial. It's so powerful. And it's not like you have to stop your other spiritual processes. Just do this also. We're living proof. I was not born a saint. And I wouldn't say I'm a saint now, but I'm far better than I would have been if I wasn't chanting. That I can say for sure. And what Lord Chaitanya has done in this age of Kali, he's endowed his holy name. We didn't tell you we charge $1,000 every time your phone goes off. We'll let you go this time. So, Lord Chaitanya has allowed us, especially through kirtan, Sankirtan, to experience very deep connection with him, with Krishna, in a very blissful and ecstatic way through kirtan. And those of you who have done kirtan know that what you experience with kirtan, you can't experience with anything else in this world, because it's not of this world. And you can experience states of consciousness. We can all experience states of consciousness we're not actually qualified to experience. That's his mercy. Sometimes the kirtans are so blissful and so ecstatic. Even somebody new to the temple who's never chanted will come in and often become overwhelmed and experience something they've never experienced before. That's the mercy of the holy name. Experience love of Krishna and have realizations that they're not actually qualified to have. That's the power of the name. That's what Lord Chaitanya did. So it's a very unique situation. And the holy name has the power to change our hearts, to purify our hearts, to awaken love, to awaken compassion, to awaken realization that you could never get any other way in lifetimes. That's the power of the holy name. So we should appreciate that, and we should take advantage of it. And basically Krishna is saying, I am here for you. I'm available. I will make myself available. You just have to chant my name. I will be there. We'll be together. We have a relationship. And you'll be happy. So as Prabhupada said, take advantage. Take advantage of this opportunity. And if you're not chanting every day on beads, I recommend you start and get some beads and start chanting every day. And I will make a promise. Your life will get better and better. You'll be able to. Everything will get better. You'll become a better person. You'll come closer to God. You'll be happier. You'll become more detached from things that you don't need. Everything good will happen just by chanting. It's so simple. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, we're not going to serve prasad until 7:45. So there's nothing to do but ask questions. So we'll be here allowing you to ask questions. So we have another microphone for the questions. And just hold on 1 minute. They'll bring a microphone. He has, in the blue shirt. Yeah.
I have a question. How come if chanting and being devotional to Krishna is so significant and part of the reason we come here to the temple is to purify ourselves? Obviously we're not going to be perfect, but we as humans, we have to try
Yeah.
our best in life. So how come if we have this opportunity to be presented, how come it only happens so rare? Once every 8 billion for 160 million years. Why doesn't it happen eternity that people
Because-
in million years can do it? Why it only happens now and that's it?
Yeah, there are other ways to do it at other times in history, but and this is Krishna's desire. It's the way he wants to do it. He gives other processes. It's kind of like, you know, someone can become very generous at some point. You know, like let's say to get into Harvard or Yale or any prestigious university is difficult. But what if they decided once every 8 billion years to let anybody in? Even you don't have a high school diploma, you can get in. You wouldn't ask why, you would just run and get in. So, you know, so we're trying to relish our fortune. And, you know, just think, well, Mahaprabhu is merciful. There's another answer to that also. Sometimes the question is asked why, a similar question is, why would he give mercy to people who aren't qualified for it? And the answer is, because he wants to. And then you might say, but it's such high mercy. Why would he give such a high thing? Well, just like a wealthy person, when they give charity, they give a lot. So he can give it, so he does. So it's best we just take advantage of it. Somehow or other, you're here in the temple at the time Lord Chaitanya is here. So it's not an accident. Don't think it's, you know, an accident. It's something you've done in the past has brought you here. And it's always nice to think, I'm on a journey, I'm continuing, and I shouldn't slow down my momentum. I should continue it. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
What is the difference between someone who appreciates the strength of the holy name and doing his best, chanting despite their own imperfections, or giving up chanting, and someone who's taking chanting cheaply and breaks all the principles all the time, and just the strength of the holy name?
What's the difference in terms of consciousness or result or?
What's the difference? In other words, how do I know if what I'm doing is not sahajiya, just doing my humble best
Well,
despite my imperfection?
the whole principle of chanting is to approach the holy name as a servant. And what you described of committing sin on the strength of chanting or using the holy name for something material has nothing to do with being Krishna's servant. So the very approach to it is wrong. It's like what Prabhupada calls cheating religion. We're trying to use God to help us for our material life. And so when we're using the holy name to help us for our material life, it may have some benefit in the beginning because at least we're connecting with Krishna and we become purified. But if that's the only connection, then it's antagonistic to the very concept of what the holy name is trying to awaken within us, which is our pure serving nature, our pure ego of I'm servant. That's what it's all about. And that Krishna is the enjoyer and I'm not. And I'm trying to stop imitating him. That's why I'm chanting. So it's possible to chant for the wrong reason, but you're not going to generally get the right result for chanting for the wrong reason. Until you come to the point where you're chanting properly, it's never going to give you the result that it was intended for. Maybe some material benefit, but not spiritual benefit. And so the reason could be a lack of knowledge. The reason could be very strong material attachment. We're pious, we like God, but we want God to help us be like Him, enjoy like Him, compete with Him. But I think that the best thing to understand is that we've been doing that forever, and it doesn't work. And so competing with Krishna is why we suffer. Competing with Krishna is why we're unhappy. And so the holy name is meant, the chanting of the holy name is meant to bring us to this point where we no longer are trying to be enjoyer, but we're trying to make Krishna the enjoyer. We're no longer trying to be controller. We're allowing Krishna to be the controller, the enjoyer. And that's not always easy, because we're used to being in control. But that's the essence of the holy name. Sri Sri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. That's the essence of the holy name. Krishna, please help me realize that I'm just a tiny servant. That's where it's supposed to take us to. So if you don't know that's where it's supposed to take you to, and you're chanting, you may try to use the holy name to take you somewhere else, and then it's a contradiction. You know, it's like you're walking uphill. Hare Krishna. I am a servant. I'm not a master. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. I enjoy by seeing him enjoy. I am little controller. He's the supreme controller. The holy name will help us realize that. And when we don't realize that, we try to imitate him. And that's why we're here, and that's why we suffer. And that suffering will continue until we realize we're servants. And chanting will, if we chant properly, we'll want to be servants. We'll be happy being tiny. You know, who is happy in the material world being tiny? But a pure devotee is happy being tiny. Sadvisham duli, sadvisham, stita duli sadvisham vichinta. Just let me be a piece of dust, an atom at your feet. You know, someone here for the first time, and we say the goal of Krishna consciousness is to be an atom at the feet of God. They may not understand that. Okay, thank you, we'll see you. I'm not interested. But if you teach me how to be God, I would be interested. So that's where we're taking people, to realize that the goal is not to become tiny. We already are tiny. The goal is to realize, stop pretending we're not tiny. That's the goal. Stop pretending I'm not a servant. You are. That's your nature as a soul. Stop pretending you're the controller. You're not. So when we get purified, we're back in our original position, and we're happy being insignificant. I'm just a piece of dust at Krishna's feet. That's my place. I'm happy. I'm good there.
What if my desires are still raging?
Your what?
Are still raging.
Your desires are still raging. Pray to the holy name to help you. And maybe pray to your therapist to help you also. But pray to the holy name. You know, if you want to chant properly, you have to live a proper life. And so desires raging also means we're in an environment that in which those desires are being triggered. And we can't be in an environment that triggers those desires and think we're going to be free from those desires. So part of being a sadhaka who can chant well is creating an environment and a lifestyle that's fairly peaceful, so that when you chant, you're like, mine's not going around the universe. So chanting doesn't happen in a vacuum. There has to be an environment in our life which is peaceful. And we have to take the consciousness we create when we're chanting, that sattvic, pure consciousness, and then live a life like that. So there's not this duality between chanting and my life. They're like two different things. My life is very passionate, lusty, greedy, envious, and so forth, and my chanting is very pure. You won't be able to chant purely if your life is like that. You might say the chanting will purify you. Okay, that's good. But it has to manifest in your life. You have to take that purity into your life and elevate it yourself to sattva guna. And then you would have the sense not to surround yourself with things which agitate you, but to create a sattvic environment where you can live a peaceful life. Otherwise, you're struggling against yourself, and then you're becoming your enemy because you're allowing yourself to be in a situation which is not healthy for you. We're all human, and if we want to control ourselves, we have to be in environments which will support that control. And if we're in environments which trigger our worst qualities, how are we going to transcend them unless we're very advanced? And so our sense control would be not to be in that environment, because I know once I'm in that environment, I can't control myself. All I can control is myself from going into that environment. That's the best I can do. So that's the sense control we have. It's like living in an ashram. People live in an ashram. When I moved into the ashram, my parents were saying to me, I had dropped out of university. I wanted to drop out of university, move in the ashram. They're saying, well, why don't you just stay in university? You can go to the temple, you can follow this religion. And I was thinking, there's no way. I was living in Berkeley in 1969. It was like one of the most liberal places in the world. I was thinking, there's no way I could live in that city and be a devotee. It's just everywhere around is sex and drugs. That was just like normal life on the street practically. So I had to remove myself and live in the ashram. So if I live in the ashram, I could do it. And it was quite easy. I'm not saying everyone needs to live in the ashram, but it's an example that you have to create an environment, and you look at this environment, you say, okay, I can see in this environment I can be peaceful. But if you're looking at your life and and there's so many things in your life that are disturbing you, and you're saying, I can't do this in this environment, you should change it as best you can. Otherwise, you can't achieve what you want to achieve because you're out of alignment. Your lifestyle doesn't support it. And so you're chanting and then undoing your chanting and going back and forth, and you just become frustrated and miserable. You'll hate yourself, isn't it? You ever do something or allow yourself to be in a situation that's really bad for you, and then you say, I hate myself. So who wants to live with a self they hate? It's really a bad place to be. Because if you hate your next door neighbor, you don't have to see them. But if you hate yourself, you can't run away. Right? So not living a life in which you have some good control so that you can live a life you want ends up causing you to hate yourself. And that's not a good place to be, because you can't run away from that self that you hate. Better you do the right things, and you can say, I love myself because I do the right things, and I get to live with that self I love rather than the self I hate. It's like a supreme, karmic curse to not be able to live the life you want, and then you end up just being unhappy, and you're making yourself unhappy in the name of trying to do something to make you happy. You become more unhappy. And all of this is just what you have to do for spiritual life. It's like you can't buck the system, you can't cheat the system. It's just what you have to do. But the rewards are immense. So you make the sacrifice because you know the rewards are immense. Otherwise, I just go back in the washing machine, get pushed around, right? I think about sense control in terms of sense control is self-loving, because when I can control myself, there's so much benefit I get, and it's the best thing I can do for myself. And when I don't, it's self-harm. So the mind's the friend or the enemy, and my experience is there really is no enemy other than ourselves. You may think the enemy is New York City, or the enemy is my boss, or whatever. But ultimately, that's not true. Because how we process all those things is how we're affected by them. So we're the real enemy. This person mistreated me. He's my enemy. Yes, but you could deal with it in a way that you're okay. You don't go crazy. And you can deal with it in a way that you go crazy. So then you really become your own enemy, not him. So if you care for yourself, then you want to live in a way which is best for you, which helps you achieve what you want to achieve. Otherwise, you're unhappy, and you have nobody to blame but yourself. Yourself created the unhappiness. So that's why I think it's so beautiful to take the time and trouble and energy and control and whatever's needed to be able to chant every day regularly, because you reap so much benefit. And then you'll say, I love myself because I force myself to do good sadhana. I force myself to chant well, and I'm so happy when I do it. Otherwise, if you chant bad rounds, you think, I hate myself, these rounds. Or I should chant and I don't. You can't be happy. The only way you can be happy is you just don't think about it. It's so depressing, I don't want to think about it. That, I'm not chanting or my rounds are bad. How your rounds, Prabhu? Don't talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. Don't make me think about it. You don't want to live like that, do you? No. It's not good. You do some austerity, something difficult, and you feel good. And you do something that makes you feel good externally, materially, makes you happy, your mind, your senses, it makes you happy. If that thing doesn't bring you closer to Krishna, if that thing that makes you materially happy puts you further away from Krishna, you feel bad. Even though you felt good doing it, you end up feeling bad because the result of doing that is your spiritual life is now decreased. And therefore you feel empty, you feel dissatisfied. And so it's important that we understand these things and evaluate it, because there's something I want to do. And if I just think, I want to do this, but if I do it, it's going to impair my bhakti. And I'm just going to be miserable doing what I like. That's a good title for a book. Being miserable doing what I love. Nobody would understand. What does that mean? Being happy doing what I don't like. Doing the austerity that I don't like. That makes me happy. It's just the way human body and mind was designed. It's designed to be happy doing austerity. So you make the austerity, you get up, you chant, you follow principles, you follow Ekadasi, this and that, all these things, and you feel good. Yes. You fast on Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day. Yes, I did it. You get Lord Nrsinga's mercy, You want to hear 2 stories about Lord Nrsinga, where I got arrested 2 years in a row? It's because I didn't fast. We went out to distribute books, and everyone said, well, you have to eat to distribute books. I was like, okay. The first year I went out, about 3 minutes after I got on the street, I was arrested. I hadn't even distributed one book. I was arrested. And so what happens when you get arrested? There's nothing to eat in the prison, so we had to fast. It's like, okay. The next year, I hadn't learned my lesson. The next year, we're going on Bookstore Street. Prabhu, you got to eat. We're going on Bookstore Street. Okay. That evening, this was in Las Vegas. I didn't get arrested in the day. That evening, we went out on Harinam to celebrate Lord Nrsingadev's appearance day. And we parked our car in a casino parking lot. And the casinos hated us because we were always doing Harinam and bothering them and their customers. And so we walked back to our car, which was parked in the casino parking lot, which is private property. And we did kirtan. And it was like their big chance. They got us arrested for doing kirtan on private property. We ended up in jail. Again, fasting. We didn't fast on Lord Nrsingadev's. He made us fast the next day. So, Better voluntarily fast. Get the benefits. So, yeah. Hare Krishna. So I think we're supposed to end now. Yes? You can take prasad. Unless you want to fast. Hare Krishna. Why? Yeah, more ecstasy. Yeah. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bo.
His grace Mahatma Prabhu ki jai.